Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're talking about the price action of BTC. As we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Now if you have not yet joined us in Discord, the link is in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. And if you are looking for a little bit more from the crypto space, why not check out the Patreon services as well? We actually cover a lot more for the Patreon members via the Discord server, everything from AMAs twice weekly. In fact, we've got one this afternoon with our Patreon members. We've also got things like trading, we've got project reviews, we've got a whole host of additional benefits. So why not check those out in the description below? Okay. Let's make a start. Bitcoin paired up with USDT on the hourly chart. Binance is the data source. So following on from yesterday's video, what were we talking about? We were talking about these areas here, right? The support and the resistance, or the supply and the demand areas. Okay, so essentially we saw this area at the upper end here, and we're talking about whether or not this is going to close up here, close through it, and kind of break out of this area of supply, right? And yeah, for the most part, we saw that happen, right? And obviously the sentiment yesterday was very much to go short, and well, that never ends that well. So we saw a lot of liquidations of short positions, and we saw that liquidity getting grabbed on this upper end, and I'll talk about more about liquidity in a moment. But essentially we come up here, we hit this higher range into this yellow box area that we've been talking about for the last week or so, basically 19,396 to 19,632, with the upper area of 19,706 being the area that had to hold. As you can see, this is the origin of our 5-wave drop, and this is where we've actually just went up to, but not across. And if I zoom in on that, you can see it got very, very close with that wick right there, very, very close to actually creating an invalidation scenario, but instead we failed to do so and we pulled to the downside. So what we're looking at now is a potential 3-wave drop to the downside. However, there's more room to the upside before we could potentially see that move. Okay, so we want to kind of talk about that. Now, essentially, the market this morning when I was streaming was very much to go short, and when the majority of people are feeling to go short, the price tends to move to the upside. So you generally go against the majority. Right now, this is Elliott Wave theory, tracking the psychology of crowd movements and the behavior of how they're operating. Okay, but when you have a lot of leverage positions going in one way, you can kind of see that the whales, the institutions, the market makers are going to go ahead and grab as much of that liquidity as they possibly can. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to reflect on that liquidity. Where does it sit and what's it looking like right now? So if we come over to the positions here, we can see that in the last 15 minutes, we actually have a reasonably 50-50 split across these platforms. However, if I come up into the 15 minutes on the aggregated data, we can see that it's actually still feeling a little bit too bearish at 52%. So the majority are going a little bit on the shorter side, and you can see by platform, there's some bullish ones and some bearish ones. Bitfinex, for example, being a little bit on the bearish side. In fact, even Bybit is feeling pretty bearish right now. So we want to reflect on what's going on and understand that there's going to be pockets of liquidity. If people are shorting, the liquidity is going to be higher up in the chart here, and therefore price can gravitate towards that. And when people go long, you have all these red lines down here. This is the liquidity of all of those long positions. So you tend to find that the price comes and wicks down to these crazy areas, grabs the liquidity, then moves in the opposite direction. So right now, the majority are going short, because it gives me the expectation that we're looking to move on up. Now, of course, we can look at this as a 3-wave structure. And we'll be looking at this B wave potentially going into a couple of areas, right? We want to focus in on where we think this could potentially go. And if I actually draw this fib the other way around, so if I start from the top here to the bottom and I grab my little yellow box, we could potentially see a retracement come up into this area here. So we've just entered into this little range. This is basically the 0.382 through to about the 88.2%. And inside here, you can see there's liquidity stacking up. These are short positions. Okay, so my B wave expectations are that we come up into this range. Now, this range is 19,418 through to about 19,642. And, we could be anywhere in there. It's really hard to be more predictive over that. Now, I would expect it to be 3 waves, though. So we'd go up this, something like that maybe, and we kind of have that kind of feel, and then we pull to the downside, right? So we grab all those liquidities out of here, and then they come down and they take out all this stuff at the lower end. I'm expecting this area here to hold on a 1-to-1 ratio with our A wave. So if I grab hold of this and I move this over to approximately around here, for example, just where I actually have this B wave currently placed, which would be approximately the $19,527 level, then pulling down, you can kind of see this coming back into this low range on the 1-to-1 ratio. Okay, but I'm concerned that maybe this will become something a bit more sinister, and maybe we'll be heading down into these lower lows or lower local lows. As this could potentially turn into a 5-wave drop to the downside, but I don't think we're there yet. Okay, so we don't want to get too carried away with that kind of thinking. We can kind of wait and see how things kind of play out a little bit. Now, let's bring the stochastic RSI up in here. Why are we feeling this way? Well, essentially, we've got quite a bit of momentum to the upside to have on our hourly chart. We've progressed quite a bit without actually doing too much movement here. This tells us that actually there's a reasonable level of purchasing going on, and not so much in the way of kind of selling pressure or anything like that kind of slowing us down. This means that this stochastic RSI moves slowly to the upside. That's a positive for price appreciation. Now, over here on the right-hand side, we can see that we're not overbought on the 4-hour chart either, but I do think we have some progression to the downside to be had there. The 8-hour is overbought, the daily is overbought, so there is going to be a bigger drop to the downside to come. Let's just check that 4-hour chart. You can see that we've still got a bit more room to the downside to be had here, but then we are ready to kind of talk about a bigger move to the upside overall. So essentially everything is looking pretty reasonable here for Bitcoin. We can see we're just coming down now. Like I said, I'm expecting it to be 3 waves, so this could be a turning point where we briefly come down and then move back up into this range. Nothing's going to move in straight lines, at least they shouldn't, unless of course there's something else going on, since what was going on this side from yesterday's video. So yeah, for the most part, that's my expectations. We are going to be into this range. We're going to grab that liquidity, but first of all, before they do that, they're probably going to want to grab some of those long positions, get those liquidated, and then move on up. Now, for this structure to be valid and to be thinking about this B wave being incomplete, we cannot cross down lower than the A wave origin. Unless we're in a flat correction, which, you know, that's possible, but I'm not going to entertain that idea just yet. Basically, we don't really want to drop down lower than $19,250. In doing so, that would actually trigger us to think about maybe the B wave being complete here, and we can just move on down. And in which case, we'll probably be testing this lower range rather than this higher range here. And that would actually be bringing us more towards the 18,900 to 18,970 level, this little yellow box at this low range here. Okay, so for the most part, those are the expectations that I have on Bitcoin. Usually speaking, the sentiment will be wrong, unfortunately, and so the market will tend to go in the opposite direction. So right now, in the last kind of 15 minutes, things are feeling a little bit on the bearish side. So it'll be interesting to kind of see whether or not they're going to increase those short positions on the price chart here, while simultaneously taking out some of those long positions, and then wipe out the short ones that re-enter into the market. So just be aware that this market is not going to be an easy one to navigate. B waves are incredibly difficult because B waves in themselves can be multiple different structures, and that's why we have this really broad retracement area, of which we've already met the minimum expectations of it. So just be aware of that. B waves are a little bit on the foolish side, but you know, we'll keep an eye on, see how things go. Momentum wise, I do think we have the momentum on the hourly chart, just need a little bit more of a correction on the 4-hourly, and then I think we're primed for this bigger move to the upside to take out this B wave move. And then of course we'll be overbought, I think, by that point across multiple timeframes, and we see the bigger drop coming in to the market. So essentially that's kind of my thoughts and expectations here on Bitcoin. Nice brief update. I will link in the description below the stream that we did on Twitch so that you guys can have a bit more of an in-depth analysis across the various different metrics of Bitcoin if that is of interest to you. Other than that, join us down in Discord where we actually do a lot more, and it is, as I said before, the centralized hub of cheeky crypto, so why not check it out? Link in the description below, guys. Until the next one, have a fantastic day.